In this video, I want to show you how you can get rid of all of your bad habits so that you can achieve the life of your dreams. Imagine how it would feel if you could be the person that had no bad habits. No matter what happened, you were always in control of your actions. You have no addictions, you never lose control over yourself, and everybody looks up to you and admires you. Wouldn't it be amazing to be that person? Hey guys, welcome to InsightJunky, and before we get into the video, if you're new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button and click the bell notification icon so you don't miss anything. Having a bad habit is literally like carrying an extra 10 kgs of body weight on your journey to success. Yes, you can become successful with bad habits, but you're only going to make it harder for yourself. Many of us have bad habits. Nail biting, drinking too much, or smoking, they're all bad habits, and habits by definition are hard to break. Once you do an action enough times, neurons in your brain actually wire together, and over time it becomes a habit. As long as the connection between these neurons exists, your habit will exist. But if you're able to avoid doing the habit for a long period of time, the connections between the neurons will start to become weaker and weaker until it will no longer be a habit. So let's start by defining what is a bad habit. A bad habit is anything that takes away from your long-term goals but also makes you feel good in the short term. So if your long-term goal is to stay healthy, then smoking is a bad habit for you. If your long-term goal is to have white teeth, then drinking too many soft drinks is a bad habit. Now that you know what a bad habit is, I want you to think about one bad habit in your life that you want to get rid of. Seriously, don't just watch this video passively. Think about a bad habit that you want to get rid of. Alright, now that you have it in your mind, I'll tell you a little bit about how a habit works. Basically, for any habit, there is a cue, routine and reward cycle. So for example, I was addicted to sugary soft drinks. My cue was that I would feel bored, so I would think to myself that I should buy myself a cold, refreshing can of Coke. The routine was that I would go to the store right next to my house and I would buy a can of Coke. The reward was the feeling I got right after I took my first sip. Because of this cycle, bad habits can be so addictive. The reward at the end is so powerful that no matter how much we try to resist, we still end up in the same cycle. So here's the first tip that will get you on the path of breaking your bad habit, and personally this has helped me a ton. I haven't seen this described in any other video, so pay close attention. Keep as much of your cue, routine, reward cycle the same and only remove the bad part. Only remove the part that is harming you while still going through the actions you used to take while doing your bad habit. In my example, whenever I would feel bored, I would go to the store to buy a can of Coke and that would make me feel refreshed. So here's what I did to break that habit. I just replaced the last part of the habit. Instead of buying a can of Coke, I bought a can of Diet Coke. Now I'm not saying that Diet Coke is necessarily healthy, but it was a first step and I was consuming less calories. Now once I was used to buying a Diet Coke, I started to go to the store to buy water, just plain water. And even though I had water at home, I still went to the store to buy bottled water. Now you might think that this is completely useless, but I'll tell you the real reason why I think it's so effective. It takes a lot of willpower to stop your entire cue, routine, reward cycle all at once. And the more willpower you have to exert, the more mentally exhausted you're going to get. Eventually you'll just give in and buy the damn can of Coke. But if you do it in the way that I've described, even buying a bottle of water will keep most of the cue, routine, reward cycle alive, and you won't have to use as much willpower. And the more willpower you're able to save, the more of it you will have available for more important tasks. I also understand that this technique will not work for all habits and not for all people, which is why my next point is to have a system in place. Most people, when they try to quit a bad habit, they say something along the lines of, "That's it, I've had enough, I'm never going to smoke again." And then 10 minutes later, they have the urge again and then they start to smoke. That's because it's easy to say these things when you're motivated and when you just got your fix. But a few minutes or hours later, your body will begin to crave dopamine again, and then it won't be as easy to say no. That's why you have to leave yourself no option other than saying no. If you want to stop smoking, get rid of all the cigarettes, lighters and matchsticks. Tell your friend that you're going to pay him $20 every time you smoke again. Make it as hard for yourself to fall back into the bad habit as humanly possible. Use negative reinforcement if you have to. Every time you do your bad habit, maybe you could ask a friend to punch you in the stomach in a light way. And now be safe and don't try to hurt yourself physically, but my point is that if you're serious about breaking your bad habit, create a system that's going to be there for you when your willpower won't be. The third point is to have an emergency plan. Sometimes, no matter what happens, you will feel like you're on the verge of slipping. For those moments, you need to have a plan. When you're that close to slipping up again, you're not going to be able to think straight. That's why you need to have an emergency plan, which you can invoke right after you realize that you're slipping up. You have to create your own plan based on the kind of person you are, but usually involving some sort of physical exercise really helps. If you feel the urge to have a little bit of a drink, immediately change your environment. Go outside for a run or do some push-ups, take a shower or go to a coffee shop and read a book. That can be one kind of an emergency plan. To be honest, you can create whatever plan suits your needs. Just make sure that you know what it is beforehand so that you don't get stuck thinking about what it is. Again, keep this in mind. When you're moments away from slipping up, you're not going to be able to think straight. So write down your emergency plan, and the second you feel the urge creeping up, get on it immediately. And the last thing I want to tell you is that this is going to take some time, but it does get easier. When you quit a bad habit for the first time, the initial period is going to be tough. Your brain will literally come up with all sorts of reasons why one smoke or one little can of Coke is okay. This time is going to be the hardest, and most people quit because they think that it's too hard and that they won't be able to sustain it. See, the thing is, during the first few days of quitting a bad habit, that's when the neurons are the most connected, so that's going to be the hardest. But over time, the neurons' connections will get weaker and it will become easier and easier to say no. So don't think that it's always going to be hard. It will get easier to say no with time. So just stick with it for a few weeks until you're strong enough to say no all the time, and then you won't even have to think about it. So to recap, here are the 4 ways to quit a bad habit. Replace the cue routine reward sequence, have a system in place, have an emergency plan to deal with urges, and realize that it will get easier over time. Having a bad habit is literally like having chains attached to your body pulling you back. They will keep you from being the best version of yourself. That's why it's so important to get rid of these bad habits. Now, if you want to learn more about habits, I make all kinds of videos related to habits, so make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of them. Hit the like button if you like the video, and thanks for watching.